On this episode, we talk about the WWE title being defended in the Royal Rumble, the Social Outcasts letting the chains off, new talent headed to the WWE, your questions, and more now on Byte That. Hey again, what's going on? You are listening to episode 124 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, the place, the location where we cover what's happening inside the WWE and its squared circle. Thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. Remember, we are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, ByteThat.com, and of course for this and tons more, including wrestling, gameplay videos, square roundtables, and tons more, head on over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. We are back after a 1 week of still having a show, but it was a slightly different format, and we have a packed show tonight. My name is Juan Velos. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and joining me as always is the full staff. Presenting first, the man that is ice cold right now up there in Canada, Keith Poshik, and from Boston, Mass, not too far behind, Ryan McNulty.
I find that interesting, because we were talking about this a little bit off air. My cold... Your cold, two very different things. Like, it's kind of nice here in Canada right now, at least where I'm living. But to you, that's like frigid, like unlivable.
Keith says that basically it's 14 degrees for him there, and that's
Fahrenheit.
Wow.
Yes, Fahrenheit. We're talking Fahrenheit here. And that's actually considered somewhat warm to you.
It's kind of nice. I'm used to it.
Where today it was like 14 and it was freezing. And we've been lucky to have like 40, 50 degree days. And those have been pretty nice. And then Juan over there.
88 degrees here.
Yeah, Juan with your 88 degrees, 98 degrees, Nick Lachey, whatever.
Like, I'm sweating
bad jokes,
now.
Bad puns.
Compared to you guys, yeah.
Man, I miss what like heat sweat feels like. Like, exercise sweat is not the same thing as heat sweat, and I miss heat sweat.
So much sweat you guys miss,
but hey,
right?
first Byte That of 2016.
Woo! How'd you guys spend the New Year's? Anything crazy?
Nope.
No.
Well, I played a little Hearthstone and got one win away from Legend.
Whoa,
twice.
now, let's not get crazy.
Yeah, Ryan, hold back, man.
Yeah. No, I spent some time with some friends, but then when I had like 2 hours left, I tried to do it, and I failed. So I'm a failure. But hey, I did want to mention, I didn't get to mention this last week. So thank you to everyone who was nice to me for my Tyler Breeze video.
Beautiful video.
It was beautiful.
Keith knows how I felt before I uploaded that video. I just like didn't want to at all, and you guys all made me feel a lot better about it.
Call me selfish, but if you enjoyed that video, maybe you should send a thank you my way, because I spent a lot of time talking you off the ledge there, Ryan. There was a chance that almost never made it if good guy Keith did not intervene.
I had to own up to my word. So
hey, just for quick context, because there's a lot of people that only listen to the audio version, there was a bet that Mr. McNulty and the three of us had. It eventually led to Ryan losing said bet, so he had to sing Tyler Breeze's theme, so that's up on the channel. People loved it, and to make matters worse for Ryan, he texts me letting me know it's live, right? And just casually, my mom was there, and we were in the living room watching YouTube videos. So Nicole, my mom, and I proceeded to watch the video. That was so nice. So good, and she loved it. She was very confused, but she loved it. Okay, guys, now let's step back into wrestling. A lot happened on Raw regarding the Authority, regarding the Royal Rumble, but I do want to get your first overall impressions, because I get the feeling that you guys enjoyed the show, or I felt a very positive vibe from you guys texting me and the people on the internets. What'd you guys think of Raw?
No, I'm going to take the easy joke here and say that it was the best Raw of 2016 so far.
By far.
By far. But no, it was a solid Raw. It always feels nice when Vince McMahon is around. Like, oh, you're probably going to get something special this week. And this Raw has a bit of history of being something really special. Like, this was the same Raw years ago that Mankind won the WWF title. That's the whole, that'll put butts in seats thing. That was the... I believe it was the same one that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart debuted. Like, this was the week that, reunited and...
I was going to say.
Like, shook hands and stuff. So, usually this is a pretty big Raw. That being said, I don't think it disappointed.
No, they usually like to kind of go big at the start of the new year. This is when WrestleMania season is really kind of kicking in. But if you look at it, aside from the one blemish of the Slammy episode, Raw's been good for like a solid month. You know, it was good the episode before Slammy's, then Slammy's sucked, and then last week was pretty good. We didn't really get to talk about it. And then I thought this week they've kept the pace up pretty well. It feels like things are happening, and that's always good.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I like that. On contrary to other Raws, like the Raw after WrestleMania, right? The reason a lot of people like it is because you get a new debut or something like that. You get something super shocking. And there were things that we'll talk about, like the Social Outcast, etc. But generally, what I enjoyed the most out of this Raw was storyline progression. Things that just let you know, yeah, this is still happening with Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, and most importantly, we got to bring up immediately Vince McMahon, Stephanie. They keep being a key point of the show. Last week, we didn't get a chance to discuss Vince getting arrested, which was those mugshots. They're really high quality, by the way.
It's my phone wallpaper now. It's probably my favorite picture ever. Vince McMahon's mugshot. It's that trollish look he had.
The left one, yeah.
Yes.
But that was really good. And now with this episode, we had the main event where Vince McMahon was going to be special guest referee. We obviously knew what was going to happen there, you know, the shenanigans with Sheamus and all of that. What happened afterwards, and this cannot wait for later, was the groundbreaking announcement that in the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns will defend the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, not in a one-on-one match, but the Royal Rumble itself is going to be dedicated to the title match.
They haven't done this since, what, 93?
Never. No, because in 92, but in 92 it was vacated.
Technically, yeah, it was, that was vacated. A vacant title.
So it's never been
the first time it's defended.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
Huh. That is
now
cool.
That you know that, how do you feel about it?
How do I feel? I mean, initially I loved it, and I still really like the idea. Of course, I go to Squared Circle, our fun little place to visit, and everyone's hating on it. I'm like, I don't get this. Like, do you understand all the different dynamics you can have going on in this for the title? They could, I mean, if they were really bold, they could even have, I mean, I don't think this is going to happen, but like, what if Roman Reigns got eliminated like halfway through? How insane would that match be? There's so much potential, and I feel like this, to err on the cynical side, I feel like when there's a world of possibilities, just the most expected one still will happen. But either way, like, a guy can dream, and I think this is really cool. This doesn't pigeonhole them into a WrestleMania main event, you know? They can choose however they want to build that. You know,
that was going to be my point. It not only does it make the Rumble more interesting, but it makes the February pay-per-view even more interesting, because their WrestleMania main event isn't pigeonholed, like you said. You don't have to like beat your head against, oh, how are we going to make this February pay-per-view interesting in some way? Oh, I guess he'll put his Royal Rumble shot on the line or something like that. It solves that problem at the exact same time, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I think it solves the situation of, well, John Cena's back. He's involved. Now what? All of a sudden, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view has a possibility to just be the show of the year. Not just because it's one of the first shows, but when you have the Royal Rumble match be the main title match, all of a sudden, all the titles below it have a little bit more of a leeway as to really just taking over the show. Plus, we've heard the rumors that, you know, Brock Lesnar is going to be in the Rumble. Now, all of a sudden, before, let's bring it back, we were like, sure, why not? But now he has the possibility of going in there and eliminating Reigns, maybe not winning. And historically, we've seen that Reigns has never really won, or lost, I should say, a singles match cleanly. This is the easiest way of getting the title off of him without him making, you know, without him looking bad. So I love the fact that this is happening now. It's going to keep everybody on the edge of their seat. That doesn't mean that Roman Reigns won't win. We know that. But
hey,
at the same...
To give you an out, let's think about this, okay? An expected WrestleMania feud is Triple H versus Roman Reigns, right? There's a good chance they don't need the title in there. So he could easily get screwed out of the Royal Rumble. That's, like you said, a way for him to lose the belt without, you know, getting pinned. Then you can have him and Triple H go off and do their feud, and whoever wins the Rumble, they start their WrestleMania title feud, whatever. So there's a way that that is a good out for them with Roman Reigns, because Triple H versus Roman Reigns for the title, I feel like it makes it a little too obvious that Reigns is going to win, because you don't see them putting the title on Triple H for very long, if at all.
How is that not, if that match does happen, how is that not the WrestleMania main event though? And you have to think the main event has to be for the title, right?
If John Cena versus The Undertaker? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I like that though. The fact that there's no clear thing, and we'll get to this later, but there are rumors that other people may be joining the WWE family very soon. So bringing it back to the Rumble for a couple more minutes, all of a sudden, all of these, a special entrants that make it to the Rumble match make a lot more sense, because the title is on the line. Not an opportunity to main event WrestleMania and possibly lose, but the title itself is going to be there. So that's sort of the last thing I wanted to bring up there. Now, taking it back then, Roman Reigns was a bit more of a serious character this episode. Not like super like dead, not smiling Roman Reigns, but he's being a little bit more controversial, taking down Vince McMahon, not smiling too much on the Stephanie segment, contrary to what happened a week and 2 weeks ago. Do you guys like that?
It's almost like every even week we get bad Roman, and every odd week we get good Roman. So maybe tune in 2 weeks and we'll get strong, serious Roman again. But definitely this is the side that I would like to see them move forward with Roman Reigns, the strong, serious type, basically who he was in the Shield. They need to keep doing that and get rid of suffering succotash.
Yeah, like Keith said, consistency is what we're looking for. We can, week to week, everyone's always like, oh, hey, this is what it's going to be like now. And then the next week he's goofing off again. It's the opposite. So you can never be like, oh, he's never going to smile and make jokes again. So it's probably going to happen again. But it's clear that this is the Roman people want to see. Don't make the jokes. Just beat people up and don't talk. That's all we want. And if you're going to talk, keep it short and simple.
One topic that really made me happy about consistency this episode was Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, these two really have the potential to have the rivalry of the year because of their characters, their wrestling style, their dynamic. And in this episode, I think both look great. It's rare, right? On a Raw, that both guys have a chance to look great. Usually one of them gets the upper hand and the other one looks like crap or something like that. But here we had Kevin Owens take on Neville, clean win, badass, simple match. And then, Ryan, you brought this up to me afterwards. The involvement with Dean Ambrose happened after, and like all of that beatdown, getting the upper hand, but both guys still look great at the end. And the little elbow that Dean Ambrose pulled off, but then immediately like sort of grabbing Kevin Owens' head. I love that.
That's the lunatic type of stuff we want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This feud in 2 weeks has been so well done. It's like reminded me what a wrestling feud is supposed to be. Just all the elements are in place and it makes sense and you follow it and you're into it. Owens loses the title at TLC to Dean Ambrose. He's mad. He's actually the one guy on the roster who's finally upset for losing a championship title. What a novel concept, right?
Right.
So then he beats the crap. So Neville just sneaks a win on him. He loses his mind, beats the hell out of Neville because he's mad about a loss. Novel concept, right? So then the next week they face each other. He's obviously overly angry because he lost last week, and he starts beating him up after he already wins the match. So then Dean Ambrose comes in once Neville is starting to get beat down. Too many times we see baby faces just being dicks and just jumping into a match and beating the crap out of someone just to beat the crap out of someone. Like, it was nice to actually see Dean Ambrose like actually making a save on somebody instead of just interfering for the sake of interfering. And, obviously he's mad about getting powerbombed through the table or whatever. But either way, just all of this has been so well done. It's so simple. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just tell us a story that makes sense and we'll like it,
You mentioned a little tidbit there. He was upset about the powerbomb being, in the previous episode. For all the hatred that we give the commentary team, they actually referenced that as to a reason as to why he did what he did on Raw. And that is rare. there was an action that happened that upset somebody and they reacted based on that.
Yeah.
Simple, to the point. And guess what, guys? It works, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I have a question for you guys, though, and I think, first of all, that this feud is in a great place right now. I'm actually looking forward to their match. And but do you worry about what happens after the Royal Rumble if they're going to continue with this feud? Because I almost started thinking back to like Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt from I guess that would be 2 years ago at this point now, where it started out strong. It started out awesome. They were having these cool segments and you're like, oh yeah, this is Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose. And then it slowly started to pitter away to the point where like, it's Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose again, I guess. Do you think that that's how this is going to end?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. That happens a lot to feuds. They have to keep upping the ante. If they're just going to keep facing each other back and forth on Raw like they usually do at the end of feuds, like they just keep having throwaway matches on TV, then yeah, it's going to fall apart. But if you up the ante like you do with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, I'm not saying it has to culminate in a Hell in a Cell, but keep the stakes high, and that's how you keep it interesting.
I think there's a problem with SmackDown just having moved to USA because we're getting that title match on Thursdays. SmackDown's being taped tonight. We're also getting Charlotte, Becky Lynch, which is another feud we're going to be talking about now. But if that were not the case, I do wish that the WWE saved matches way more for the pay-per-view, because I get it, the DQ finish or interference or something, but I want that first punch to mean everything in the world.
I mean, especially the Rumble, right? I mean, there's only going to be like 4 other matches, if that, you know? It's like
there's a chance that could be the singles main event.
Yeah.
I know.
Rumble.
And I don't know why they're like, I know they want SmackDown to feel special, but it is at the cost of a pay-per-view where there's already going to be very few other matches.
I know sometimes we talk down on them, but that's really where the effectiveness and the power of a tag team match comes in, where you can really continue that feud and move it in a really good direction, but you don't have to sacrifice that first big punch in a one-on-one match.
Yeah. That's why they used to do all these tag matches back in the day, where it was heel team versus face team and everybody used to be in a feud at some point there. They do that, just not nearly as often now. Last tidbit I wanted to bring up here, Dean Ambrose on commentary was pretty great, actually.
Of course
I was watching on YouTube just to like rehear some of the things, and he was a damn good commentator, pretty funny, you know, making reference that they brought up Too Cold Scorpio, talking about the Usos, and above everything, just the way he said, like he's always willing to defend the title. It didn't feel generic. It felt like this desperate man, like, I had this title, I have it with me, I need to defend it. When? Right now. Once again, selling the Ambrose Asylum thing without it being shoved down our throats, and I hate.
Do you
the
feel
Ambrose
welcomed
Asylum,
to the Ambrose Asylum now, Juan?
I feel like I'd be welcomed, but they would never let me out. Kind of like Sword Art Online. Weird reference. I'm
that
watching
went
anime
way
now.
over my head.
Yeah, but I wanted to bring up something that I'm watching right now. Now, switching it over to another very similar rivalry is Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Now, Charlotte, we brought up that when she started this heel turn, she was not all that great, seemed a little too forced. Now, I like what they're doing with her now. Speak less, react more, and have Ric Flair by your side doing everything else that you got to work on. And I think that works, guys. Did you like the interaction that they had on Raw?
Absolutely. I mean, you have one of the best talkers ever in your corner as Charlotte. Utilize him in a good way. But I don't know, the Charlotte thing isn't really all that sold for me. Like, okay, so she's starting to turn heel. Cool. Saw that coming a mile away. Yeah.
I like it though in very much the same way I like Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose. It's a simple story that's being told right, and it works. And Becky Lynch, I think, like I was telling, I mean, it's no big discovery or anything, but I was telling Juan, like, Raw Becky Lynch is a lot better than Raw Sasha Banks right now. Like, Becky Lynch seems like she's kind of primed to be
hard to argue
like
that.
the big babyface diva right now. And granted, they're not doing much with Sasha Banks, so that it's not a completely fair statement to make. But the point is, like,
is it a bank statement to make?
Oh,
Not
whatever.
yet.
whatever. Just gonna brush that one off.
Yeah.
Yeah, Becky Lynch is could be prime for like the top diva babyface, whatever. I really like their match was great. I know Sasha Banks and her kind of were a little off last week, but Charlotte and Becky were on point this week. Great match once again, keeping this, a good story being told, and most importantly, not making Becky look too naive and stupid. And finally, she thinks Ric Flair is going to cheat again, and then she kind of cheats right back and grabs the tights on Charlotte to get the win.
And here's the effectiveness in both this and the feud between Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose. The wrestling part of it is believable from a physical standpoint. Charlotte, from day one, you could tell that her character needed work. And I'm saying like early, like NXT debut Charlotte. But when she attacked, it was believable. When she hits the spear, it looks like she's trying to really knock the wind out of somebody. And then on the other side, you have Becky, who is outstanding. I mean, she has some of the best suplexes in wrestling today right now. So when you have a physical rivalry that's trying to unfold there, it's way more believable, because we had something like this between Stephanie and the Bellas, but that didn't work because by the time it got to the match, the offense didn't seem real enough. But here, it really looks like that when they want to punch each other, it's because they're starting to hate each other or something like that. And I really, really am just happy that we have there are two carbon copy feuds. They're extremely similar right now, but I don't care. I'm having fun, great matches, and it's progression being done on Monday nights, Mago.
I guess in like a big broad stroke, yes, they are the exact same thing, but I don't know.
They definitely have their... No, they have their differences.
It's just the whole Charlotte part that I'm having a hard time getting over. I don't like this main roster Charlotte at all, and I guess that's what's ruining it for me. Like, as far as the wrestling goes, yes, you are 100% right, but it's just the character Charlotte I'm having a really hard time with right now.
I like it. It works as a heel. If she's trying to be like Ric Flair and is like, hey, remember Ric Flair? Now I'm the babyface, like me. It's kind of, it's a put off. But if she's just going to be the heel, like the nasty heel anyway, and you're not supposed to like her, then sure, copy Ric Flair all you want.
But she's not that effective at copying Ric Flair, and with that, you kind of run the risk that, and this is going to sound weird, that Ric Flair is one of the top attractions in the Divas division.
Kinda. The last thing I sort of want to bring up here, and this is not even just with the Divas, but wrestling overall, is that we used to have wrestling that was so character-driven that the match was secondary, right? It was all about the entrance, the tights. Then for a while, we started to get the reality era, like in around 2005, 2008, where the characters were pretty much just them in shiny tights. And now I like that the wrestling part seems to slowly, very slowly, because a lot of injuries have been happening, is being the appeal. Because take an example like Charlotte. So maybe when she talks, it's not the best. But if she can make every move that she makes believable and have people want it, when it's time for the spear to come, people will react. When it's time for her to do the woo or the natural disaster, I forget her finishing move all of a sudden now.
Natural selection?
Natural selection. Thank you. Naturals, TNA. When all those things happen, people mark out. And I like that because back in the day, or the Attitude Era, which people love so much, whenever a key move was going to happen, like the Dudley Boys with the headbutt, people would want to get their cell phones out, take a picture of that, because that was the match and the move that they wanted to get out of that night. So I really do hope that they keep going down that route.
Now, one thing I want to say, kind of to touch on what Keith said, where you said Ric Flair is the main attraction of the Divas division.
One of.
The point I wanted to make is that is progress, whether you actually want to like think about it that way or not. Like, would Ric Flair have, would 10 years ago, would they have had a major legend like be dedicated to being in like week to week helping out the Divas division as like a manager?
That's a very good point.
Would that be a thing? And also just like, I hate the term Divas Revolution, but I think it's something we're going to look back on in a couple of years and say, okay, they went overboard with the terminology at the beginning, but we can already look at Raw now and see how a long Divas match is now becoming a more and more accepted thing. It's not something the crowd's going to leave. Now they're actually going to stay and want to see these people wrestle. So I think it's going in the right direction, and they're slowly doing it, and we're almost not even noticing. But if you kind of stop and take a look and see how the Divas division's treated now versus 2 years ago, it's pretty insane.
Good things take time to build. Even in the NXT, the women's division there just sort of started having good matches casually. It wasn't overnight that they were having these great matches. Hey, let's throw an Iron Man match in there. That didn't just happen. So, yeah, a little bit overboard at the beginning, but I'm super happy with how it's happening here. Now, the other positive thing, and this is Ryan's corner. Whenever we bring up Bray Wyatt, like, Ryan, you're in the sponsor. The Wyatt family dominated ECW originals, and now they're moving on to seemingly two guys. They're going down slowly. Ryback and the Big Show. We had Ryback versus Big Show on Raw. I was very sad tuning out. All of a sudden, we get the Wyatt thing. I thought that's where
Raw was gonna dip, but they pulled the Wyatt family lever and had them come in and interrupt it.
Yeah, they pulled that lever, and it was effective. They took out Ryback. They took out Big Show, and this is the first time that I recall that the Wyatts are moving in from a winning feud, from concluding a victory and then moving on to another thing and being effective in it. So it's a little weird because we're used to them just moving on after having suffered a major loss or something like that. Do you guys think that Ryback and Big Show is the best combination for this?
Well, Wyatt's already feuded with Ryback less than a year ago. So I don't know if this is the great way to move. I don't even know if this is actually heading towards like a Rumble match, because I think
it's more the Rumble itself.
Yeah, because I think they're all going to just be in the Rumble match. I mean, they could still do a tag match beforehand, but that would
seem weird though.
With like only 4 matches on the Royal Rumble card, it would seem very weird for them to just kind of do this match. But one other interesting thing was that they were doing, did you guys notice like the 4 Horsemen thing that they were doing? So Bray Wyatt said, we are war, pestilence, death, and whatever the hell the other one is. Famine. He mentioned the 4 Horsemen, and then if you noticed the hands, they were all doing like the 4, like downward with their hands. And I'm like, all right, we already got Ric Flair on the show. Do we need to do more 4 Horsemen stuff? We're in the 4 Horsewomen with NXT and all that.
The real question is, can Ric Flair grow a beard?
Yes, Ric Flair and the Wyatt family. Elbow dropping his jacket.
Have we ever seen Ric Flair with a beard?
I don't think he can grow one. He's always been clean shaven. By the way, Braun Strowman, holy crap. Not only, it only took Big Show for me to realize just how big that man is.
People popped like hell with that confrontation. Yeah, so I don't know what they're doing with this 4 Horsemen thing, or maybe they're gonna call themselves like the Armageddon Horsemen or something like that.
But like the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, that makes so much sense with the Wyatt family
thing. It does, but there's already like a Hall of Fame faction based on the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, except they just called them. I mean, it's not really like apocalypse.
But they were just the 4 Horsemen. This is of the Apocalypse.
But you listen to like Arn Anderson talk about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I thought of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse." So,
I don't know why. I just thought of the way the Bray Wyatt thing happening, the lights and everything. It comes back on, and Arn Anderson is with them for no reason.
They just wheel out the original 4 Horsemen. Just J.J. Dillon is there with the lantern. That would be.
But I'm telling you, man, I'll watch it back again. But I swear they were all doing the 4, but upside down. So they're like the Illuminati Horsemen or something. I don't know.
Weird. But
it's
ladies
cool.
and gentlemen,
my last comment was it's a really cool idea. It's just a shame that there's kind of a Hall of Fame faction that already kind of took the name.
And I just want to slide in quick and say, yes, do this with the Wyatts. Spend the next 6 months just feeding them the roster, having them destroy everybody. Let's report back in about 6 to 8 months and actually make them feel credible.
Wait, what were the people in Lord of the Rings? What were those guys called?
The ring dude? Ring rates.
Yeah. Never mind. That sounds lame. I was like, I thought they had like a group name.
The people.
The wraiths.
The Riders of Helm's Deep.
The Riders of the Apocalypse. The League of Nations with their PowerPoint
Lord of the Rings, there is
exactly. And Zack Ryder is the newest member of the Wyatt family.
You know it. Okay, guys, we need to spin this off for a couple of seconds and get to a couple of announcements. This Thursday, over on the YouTube channel, Byte That Cast, we have a video series that we want to get going. A couple of Let's Plays, but not about any general games. We want to get to specifically about wrestling games. We've done the top 10 wrestling video games. We've covered and have had live streams over at twitch.tv/bytethat about some games, but now we're just going to sit down every now and then and just play some games. This week we play WWE Crush Hour. Keith joined me in a session where we combined the WWE and Twisted Metal. This was a game that came out in 2003 for GameCube, Xbox, and
it was
the
a
PS2.
Learning experience. Learned a lot.
Brock Lesnar has tiny arms. Very tiny arms.
Like shockingly tiny arms.
Like they reach
and it
his
shows.
pecs.
He skips arm day and Crush Hour instead of leg day.
Oh man, it was great though. It was good time going back there. Of course, last week we have double video specials. We have the video edition of the podcast. We always want to clarify that was a special edition of the podcast. It takes a little bit more time for us to work on. We always try to grow as a channel. I know there's a lot of people that consume the podcast also on iTunes and all that, but on the YouTube channel, we really want to strive to make that the biggest thing that we can possibly develop. It takes time, takes effort, but we are making progress, and we have a lot of special announcements that will be happening in the near future. We have the best
buns in the oven.
Yes, they are. No banana breads, okay? Stop it. Stop it with the banana. He's dead. Anyway, I need it. That was a personal thing at that point.
Yeah, do you feel better now?
Yes, I feel better. Also,
Okay.
Viewers' Choice Awards is up, and, Ryan laying over a sofa. You can watch that on the channel. He's just laying in there, and you get to see him while singing Tyler Bass's theme.
Because it's the internet, somewhere out there, someone's probably masturbated to that video. And it was probably a guy.
And if you have...
Quick question for you.
Don't tell me if you have.
Yes,
I don't want to
please
know.
keep that to yourself. What you do in alone time stays in alone time. But how are you going to explain that to your future wife or husband one day?
Hey, maybe it gets him a future wife or husband.
Maybe.
I just hope it gets buried in the annals of the internet. Emphasis on the word anal.
Yeah, be careful there. Oh, please watch that. It made me so happy. And you got to do the Macho Man thing. So it's like, wait, but there's more. That's going to be happening down the line very soon, as well as me and Keith continuing our 2K16 Best of 5 series.
Yeah, and believe me, I know how much you're going to enjoy that punishment, or dishing out that punishment.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be better or worse.
It's going to be better for us, man. The worse it is, the better for us.
Yeah, everyone but me will benefit.
Okay, guys, so not only did we get all of the things we mentioned in this episode of Raw, we also got a brand new stable. Heath Slater had a match on Raw, which went by alone. That ups this Raw from an 8 to a perfect 10. Now we get the Social Outcast. We have a stable of, we can't make this up. Like, anybody that's listening right now that has not watched Raw, this is not a joke. A stable consisting of Adam Rose, Curtis Axel, Bo Dallas, and Heath Slater. The Social Outcast, guys. Keith, Ryan, myself. Your reactions, how do you feel right now?
It is... all right, Keith doesn't like it, but I absolutely love it. I've been
good.
waiting.
We've got a job squad in 2015. Whoop-de-doo, Basil.
I've been waiting.
And it's actually 2016.
Heath Slater to finally get something. He hasn't really had a legit program since basically WLC. Is that like correct?
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, no, this is great. They like their promo I felt like they were purposely totally all on, like, they're all on different pages, like they're all over the map. And I think that's kind of the point, is they are just this stable of totally uncoordinated jobbers that they could maybe eventually, like, that's going to tell a story right there if they actually want to move forward with this. So right now they're just all uncoordinated individuals in a group. And then maybe they're actually going to gel together, find their rhythm, and become something. If they want to dedicate themselves to that type of story, I really think this can work. And
I love your optimism.
Curtis Axel showed probably the most charisma I've ever seen from him.
He made me laugh.
The chains are off, man. The chains are off.
I love your guys' optimism. I don't share it. Oh, good. There's gonna be, now we know who
it's
all
Heath
of these
Slater, man.
We know who all of these new guys from NXT are gonna get wins over. They're just going to get jobbed to oblivion, and this is somebody that has coming from somebody that has a deep obsessionist love for Bo Dallas. I just can't get into it. It just, no, I don't.
I think we need to give it time. The way that this seems to be happening, for those that have not seen it, is that this is going to be more on social media. So it's going to be more of an internal storyline, because even they had a video
won't
afterwards.
give it airtime.
I mean, the whole thing.
They might.
They might. And
this is day one. We're talking about day one. And any storyline they've ever tried to do through social media mostly never freaking works.
But this started because of that. Heath Slater basically started trending on every episode of Raw, despite the fact that he was not on the show. So that seems to be the reason why this is even happening. And people were making, if you notice, it's everybody that people are poking fun at. I mean, Curtis Axel, no offense to the guy, but if you removed him, I could see this as a stable where they're taking 3 young up-and-comers that have not worked too well, and they're pushing them. You throw Curtis Axel to the mix, and now it's like, okay, this is clearly a job squad type thing, because Curtis Axel has very little redeeming qualities as a wrestler. That is the meanest thing I've ever said on the podcast.
So with these 3 or 4 men, would you kind of consider them like a band of people? Like some sort of 4-man band?
That was a whole different idea of bad. That was bad from day one.
Well, not day one. That like behind the music thing that they did with them was pretty good
at the beginning.
No, but
that was weak.
Heath Slater is so criminally underutilized. He is hilarious. I mean, you saw him on the JBL and Cole show. You even saw the Heath Slater interview with Michael Cole.
Oh, cool.
Like, this guy just like bleeds charisma. Like, he is hilarious. This guy is entertaining. And I honestly think wow.
Well,
okay. So I tried to say Curtis and Axel at the same time.
There we go.
And I said Kurt Ass. So, wow.
That was trying to say Curtis. You were just saying Curtis. Yeah.
Okay. So Axel Rose. No, I think this guy has a lot more potential than anyone wants to give him credit for. And I remember there's an interview with Ryback. So take Ryback's word for what you will. But, you know, when he said he was teaming with Curtis Ass, oh my God, I can't freaking talk, dude. I can't talk. When he was teaming with Curtis Axel, he's like, people don't even like know half of what this guy's capable of. So, you know, I'm taking Ryback's word for it. I think there's a lot more that this guy has to offer. I don't really know about Adam Rose, and we've seen what Bo Dallas can do on NXT. The guy can kill it as a heel. Good. So,
yeah.
Basically, the only question mark to me is Adam Rose.
And the one thing, because I know it was super mean about Curtis Axel, and it's because we genuinely have never seen him.
This is my Chad and Gable, by the way.
Yes, thank you for bringing
Kurt
that
Ass.
Oh God, next week I'm next. Okay, guys. Now, being serious here, news broke out yesterday, and this is huge spoiler tag. You know, this is nothing confirmed, but at this point, enough things have happened that can all but confirm this. So I'm giving you a couple of seconds to just fast forward or pause. This is about new people possibly coming into the WWE. We're talking AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson. If you're familiar with New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know who these guys are. They just had an outstanding show, Wrestle Kingdom 10, I believe it was. Can't wait to watch that a little bit later now. AJ Styles, man. He could be headed up to the WWE. And this is more spoilers, okay? But the only way we can realistically talk about this for a couple of minutes is if I spoil a little bit of what's happening to let you know the seriousness.
Speculative spoilers.
Yeah,
Yes, this is all speculative.
But Dave Meltzer, everybody has all but commented that this is happening because I'm bringing up stuff specifically from PW Insider, no other source right now, is that the Bullet Club turned on AJ Styles during the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dash event this morning, with Kenny Omega now becoming the leader of the group. One of the last times this happened was when Finn Balor showed up to NXT. The process of somebody being removed, and then there was later video of AJ Styles saying goodbye, and also AJ Styles has been removed from every single promotional piece in Ring of Honor and posters he was previously in. They are all gone. He never existed there to begin with. So we may be getting AJ Styles, and we're just happening to get a Rumble where the title is on the line. I know you guys haven't seen really almost any of Nakamura or Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows. We know him as Festus or Luke Gallows. What do you guys think about these 4 huge names in Worldwide Wrestling possibly coming in?
Great. I look forward to what they do in NXT because I think that's exactly where they're going to end up. No offense, but if you think like, oh, you know what, maybe the Royal Rumble, but if you think that they're going to like jump straight into the main roster, I think you're a crazy person. And, I've said before that I wouldn't really be excited about if AJ went to the WWE or NXT, but, after Samoa Joe's debut and what he's done in NXT, as far as I'm concerned, all bets are off. Like, it could be freaking awesome because Joe's had an awesome run in NXT. So I'm actually super excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, my estimation is that, if someone like Joe is going to NXT, then so are these guys. Maybe AJ gets a shorter run than most and gets called up faster. And maybe there's a special...
Sorry to interrupt you, but the fact that the Rumble is in Orlando, having AJ Styles in the Rumble would be kind of amazing.
Yeah, the crowd would probably pop hard for AJ. The thing is, WWE likes to pretend a lot of times. I mean, NXT not so much, but they like to pretend a lot of times like, oh, this guy didn't do much until he came here. Or, like they like to build them up as their guy. And to kind of bring in a guy who's made his name in, Ring of Honor and TNA and New Japan. And then, I don't know. I mean, they could play it off. I'm not sure. It would be interesting how they would handle it. And like the only way I could see them getting called up and like being more than just a Rumble appearance is if they did like a Shield type of thing where it's like they just bring all the guys up and they come in and make a statement. I don't know. Is there room for something like that? Probably, but I don't know if they're going to do it and how too similar would it be to the Shield?
I think that something big is brewing. And this is going to be the oddest example ever, but we saw this first on Up, Up, Down, Down. A couple of weeks ago, Kenny Omega was part of Up, Up, Down, Down. Up, Up, Down, Down. Can't talk. Tongue-tied.
Nobody can talk to Omega.
Yeah. But the simple fact that he was involved, a very well-recognized wrestler was on a WWE-owned YouTube channel, because we know by now that is not Xavier's own independent thing. That is part of WWE, and he is in that. Is a way of testing the waters with how much people that watch WWE know about the other products. Dave Meltzer reported today, not yesterday, that Styles and Nakamura will most likely not head to NXT and will be brought up to the main roster right away. We're getting a lot of injuries that are happening, and we've seen in the past year. Look at the top of the food chain in WWE right now.
I find that to be so crazy.
But keep in mind, we're talking about. Let me look back at the agenda. So the topics have been Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, like John Cena. The other guys they used to be the guys that we would make fun of for always being there are no longer there. If you look at the roster now. This would not be that different from what's happening right now. Like Cesaro's out with an injury. Seth Rollins is out with an injury. But if you add them to the mix, the main WWE roster is basically an indie roster or a roster that would be in Japan or Ring of Honor.
Well, you're right. you have people like Balor and Joe already in NXT. Like, those are the people I could totally see filling that gap and heading up to the main roster, where maybe Styles and Gallows, they create that new era of NXT almost. And then maybe one day, because I strongly believe that you're not going to see them on the main roster before Balor, and Balor's going to have a hell of a head start, because if they do that Bullet Club style thing on the main roster, you're probably going to see Balor as the leader of it. So they need to build him up a little more on the WWE roster before something like that could exist.
And I don't see WWE like trying to play off of another company. Like, oh, you knew what was going on in Japan. Like, this is,
that's why there's a Balor Club
there's
T-shirt.
The Balor Club. That is exactly
I know there is
it.
a Balor Club T-shirt, but that's, I think that's a little different than if they legitimately have a faction that is basically the Bullet Club, but WWE's version, like, right away. You know what I mean?
But that's why I'm saying that's why Balor would have a head start, because they have that
they
time.
would have to do it in their own way. I'm just saying, I don't see WWE directly playing off of it, like capitalizing on the moment and playing off it immediately, instead of just maybe later down the line building something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And well, the one defense I'll give to it is that they're making moves like this is obviously they want to fill that stadium. They want to break the attendance record. So they're probably going to go the extra mile to kind of pull out all the stops for WrestleMania. So maybe it's why they're making a really big move like this. And my kind of final point, I guess, against it, I'm kind of going wishy-washy, is when this is a big like report coming out and it's getting a lot of attention. And if something like this has a lot of attention, especially when they mention the creative direction that they might go, WWE may err on the side of going the other way just to kind of swerve people. Like if Meltzer is saying like, these guys are going directly to the main roster, they're skipping NXT, like they're going to start this group, like
crazy talk.
I feel like that's a little too much information, and WWE will purposely try to throw everyone off.
I think the really big thing to get out of this is not even AJ Styles or Nakamura, but that WWE, they're onto something. Like, we don't know what specifically, but look at the past year. Like, not just Raw, but WWE has made decisions that we would make fun of or say, like, this would never happen. Partnerships with Evolve. Sami Zayn went to an Evolve show as Sami Zayn. We have Samoa Joe in the roster. We had Tommaso Ciampa keep his name for a while. James Storm is a free agent wrestling in NXT. A lot of things are happening that make you think, is WWE just trying to actively just buy everything out long term?
They're trying to become, I mean, they're already the global wrestling company, but they're just trying to become everything wrestling. And they're definitely, they are picking up any talent that they can find. Anyone with a big name seems to be getting signed now. Aside from like the Young Bucks, like who haven't they signed at this point?
But that's the thing, and they've never done that before. Usually it was they would get one guy, but if you look at all of the talent that they've signed right now, New Japan's top division, a lot of the top guys are gone. Like Nakamura and AJ is like if you took John Cena and Roman Reigns off, like to that extent.
How much of this is Vince and how much of it is Triple H?
A lot lot of things are
we
being
can only
worked on.
speculate, but I'm gonna lean more on the Triple H side on this one.
It happens to be going along with NXT, so one would assume it's Triple H, but that's why another reason to think this is going to be at least starting out in NXT, but who knows?
All I gotta say is 2016 is already starting off hot, and WrestleMania and Rumble are gonna be very interesting. Okay, guys, so before closing out the show, you guys know the tradition. You can send us questions, bytethatcast@gmail.com, Twitter, bytethatcast, Facebook, MySpace. We don't have that, but maybe we could. Probably not. Keith, the questions, what are they, and who are they from?
I'm so happy. Let's do this every episode now. But yes, we have questions. And our first one comes from Barnaballs. Barney Johnson.
Balls.
The Balls asks, would WWE work without championships? P.S. Bonus points if you can give a cheap plug to Fight Night.
Nobody can talk today, Bagel.
Nope, we're done.
Would WWE work without championships? I think not, because in a way it is meant to be a competition. And what is a competition without a top prize? Every competition has some sort of reward in the end, some sort of end all be all. And yes, we have a thing called Fight Night, which is a, fantasy wrestling league that doesn't have championships, and we try and have stories, tell that. And there are like consequences and all that, but I think that's a little more on the goofy side, whereas WWE tries to at least present itself as this competition.
Yeah, I think anything that requires contact sport or action like that needs a title, even if it's one. Even when NXT first launched, they didn't have a title. And then, they launched it because otherwise, like, it's just a bunch of people wrestling. But for what? You need a purpose for the talent. In Fight Night, just to let you know, because Ryan already plugged it, it's not canceled because I know some people have been asking. It's just taking a little bit of a hiatus, but sooner rather than later, it's going to come back and you're going to find out sexy details very soon.
Indeed. It's all about middle ground. It's there's room for the titles. Everybody needs something to fight for, right? You need that big prize. But there's also room for the feuds where somebody spills a cup of coffee on somebody and then they fight over that for 3 weeks. It's all about finding the middle ground. It's about making those big championship matches and lacing those fun, interesting feuds in between them and creating a more complete show because of it. Much like the show that I am the general manager of, that is Fight Night. And I look forward to giving you more complete shows in the near future. Stay tuned for details.
Yeah, the title is an excuse for everything else to happen. If you don't have it there, then it's just a bunch of people pretending to fight each other for nothing.
Kind of like
Fight Night.
But thank you, Balls, for the question. Our next one comes in from Nick, who asks, you win a prize at a house show, a road trip with any WWE superstar on the main roster. Who do you travel with?
Xavier Woods. It would just be amazing. You get to hang out with Biggie and Kofi also and play games.
Yeah, you know what? You sold me, dude. A trip with the New Day sounds like the greatest time ever. So
you just
I'm
go to
picking
different
that too.
bathrooms, go to Burger King, just ruin everybody's dinner. I love it.
I don't know. I'd think of somebody like Daniel Bryan or Randy Orton, somebody that has a tour bus. So
Randy
I can just
Orton, he's just gonna crap in your bag on the road trip, man.
Don't bring bags. just bring like clothes and then just buy new merchandise clothes from
He will
town to
crap
town.
on your stuff. He will find a way.
I guess so. But if it's in the if it's in the tour bus, then the whole tour bus will smell like poo.
He crapped all over the tour bus, man. It's everywhere.
Wow. Well, thank you, Nick, for the question. I've got nothing to say after that. Our next question. We're done here, folks. No, we're not, because the next question
Randy Orton
comes
crapped
from,
on the next question. No,
God damn it. Just let me say the question. No more pooping. This is a poop-free question environment, Ryan. So that's
sanitary.
Exactly. Maestro Gamer 180 asks the next question. And he asks, can you see The Rock coming to help Roman Reigns at the Rumble, and then maybe at a WrestleMania he competes against The Rock? Kind of a fantasy scenario here.
I think WWE already experimented with that, and the reaction was not the one they wanted. So I don't think they want to risk that happening again.
Well, you know what would be very interesting, though, is if The Rock shows up again like he's going to help Roman Reigns, but then he eliminates him and then you have them feud. That might be cool. But yeah, helping him, I don't think, the babyface getting help from the big superstar, it doesn't really like make people want to like them more,
Look at last Rumble.
Yeah, it's like, he needed help to win. Yeah, exactly. It didn't work last year. Keep The Rock and Roman Reigns as far away. You don't want the whole Ric Flair Charlotte effect where it's like you feel like they can't do it on their own without some help. Roman Reigns is going to do it on his own.
Exactly.
It's one versus all, not one and The Rock versus all.
One and the people versus all. But I am of the mind that The Rock will never wrestle again, period. If he does make an appearance at a WrestleMania or something like that, he will do kind of like what he did last year, with Ronda Rousey and the Authority. I don't think we'll see The Rock wrestle again just because of what happened last time. He got injured. Who knows what that led to, but I'm sure that kind of effed up the rest of his obligations just a little bit during that time.
I mean, if I was The Rock, like, you're making all this money. You have no need to do that.
You were a star in one of the highest grossing movies of last year. You don't need to wrestle. Just show up.
But at the same time, you got to give him respect because he did not need to at all, but still did it.
And those tights look way too small on him now.
Yes, The Rock is a big man. I went back Sunday and I watched the Survivor Series 2011, where it was him and Cena versus the Awesome Truth, the Never Before, Never Again. I forgot how big of a man The Rock is when he's in those little wrestling tights. But man, that is a big man.
Sounded weird, but I know what you meant.
Exactly.
Don't crap all over him.
No. So thank you, Maestro Gamer, for the question. Our next one comes from Cody Collier, who asks, do you think the WWE put the title on the line in the Rumble match just to try and prevent backlash, much like in 2014 and 2015?
I think maybe, yes. In a way, I would say yes. I think after the past 2 years not going so well, they're trying something different. And yes, maybe Roman Reigns still winning is going to upset some people if that is what happens. But I think they kind of saw, oh, maybe it's a little too obvious if we have the Rumble match. We have this big elaborate Rumble match and it's like only two guys who even have a chance of winning. So they're going to switch up the formula. I think this is a nice experiment. And if it really works out, this could become like a permanent thing.
I agree. I think for the last 2-3 years, the Rumble became an afterthought. I mean, even us, the thing we cared about most was, hey, who's going to come back and make a cool appearance? Because you sort of knew who was going to win, and it lost its magic. And with this, it's completely different. It's never happened before. It may never happen again, like the 40-man Rumble. So I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I absolutely do think that the backlash they've suffered for 2 years has lasted for the months after, and they cannot deal with that.
But almost to that point, that exact same one, by doing this, they've backed themselves into a corner with Roman Reigns being in the Rumble, because the whole thing, the thought behind Roman Reigns being champion was everybody going, well, I guess he's not in the Rumble then, so that's kind of good, right? But now he's the champion and in the Rumble. What happens if Roman Reigns retains the title at the Royal Rumble? We're just going to be back in the firestorm we were a year ago, probably. So they almost, I feel like they backed themselves into a bit of a corner.
I don't think it's as much of a backlash because this isn't like setting up your WrestleMania match like it has before. You know, when
Roman, it kind of is though, because if he retains the title, do you think he's going to lose it before WrestleMania?
No, but I'm saying when Roman Reigns won last year, we were like, okay, now it's Lesnar versus Reigns confirmed, right? But now, if Roman Reigns wins, we still have no idea who he's going to face at WrestleMania. So it's not like
it's not like
you're in the spot where you're like, oh, well, this is what we're in for the next 2 months, guys. We still don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And even then, if he wins, as Ryan mentioned, the magnitude's just not the same because the Rumble itself needs to be specific as to like what's like you want to feel something when that match ends. If Roman Reigns retains, it can be, okay, somebody take the title off of him now. He retained. Cool. Before it would be like, okay, now we got to deal with this, and I don't care to watch Raw. This sets up so many possibilities, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I am looking forward to it. It adds a new interesting dynamic to the Royal Rumble, and I do think that's cool. So thank you, Cody, for the question. Our final question of the show comes from NKBE1324, formerly known as Wands Boy. Yeah. But he asks, do you think there will be any surprise entrance in the Rumble now that the title is on the line?
AJ, not Lee. Just to clarify, style.
I say AJ Lee. I don't think anything changes with the Rumble as far as them. Like they're not. I don't think they're going to exclude surprise entrants just because the title's on the line. I fully expect to see at least 2 surprise entrants, one of it.
Who do you think it's going to be?
Could be AJ. Maybe you throw in an NXT guy there. Maybe you have like an old school legend come back. Maybe, maybe DDP. Maybe Jake the Snake finally gets to do something. I don't know. But they'll definitely have some surprises.
I'm going to make 3 predictions on who I think it's going to be. The most outlandish one will be AJ.
What about the prediction show, man? You're just gonna give it away now? What are you, like WWE now? Yeah. You're giving away your title matches on the podcast?
How dare you, Keith?
I sure am. The thing is, everything is subject to change, right? Next week I'd be like, oh no, there's no way in heck that AJ Styles is going to show up in the Rumble, right? It's all subject to change. This is just a little tease.
You can say hell on this podcast, Keith.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did use a profanity talking about Curtis
Axel. Like, feel better about yourself.
Fine. There's no way in hell. Oh, there. Oh, snap.
Anyway, bleep that. You have to bleep that. Timestamp that now, and you have to bleep that out.
All right, Curtis. Whatever you said.
Curtis.
3 predictions. AJ Styles. It's in Orlando, like I mentioned earlier. It would be incredible. Do I think it's going to happen? Well, it's a prediction, so I guess, yeah, kind of. Sami Zayn. He's going to be in the Rumble. He's back now. I think he's going to be the NXT guy. Number 3, we're going to see Vader in this Hall of Fame. The Mastodon. Big Van Vader. He's in incredible shape right now. And he's going to be a big surprise this year. I'm feeling it in my gut. My Vader-like gut.
And he's got a big one.
Yeah. That's how confident I feel, I guess.
My actual prediction is Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Why? Because you know that the only guy left within that group is AJ Styles, but you save him. But you think to yourself, okay, these 2 guys go in maybe with even the same name or something like that, and people know like that is going to happen. That reunion is going to happen in the WWE. It's just a matter of when, maybe the night after or something like that. But it gives you build up to something that you know is eventually going to happen. So I hope it does.
Elephant in the room. What are the odds Daniel Bryan shows up?
I think
0.0%.
Okay.
We need to have that conversation after the Rumble. Like, if he doesn't show up, is D-Bride done? But let's wait until after the Rumble.
Indeed.
But do you realize how many things happened that we actually didn't even talk about Jericho showing up on Raw? Like, we completely shot that over.
Hey, Jericho showed up on Raw.
Yeah.
And he made a bad joke.
Yeah. Oh,
and
good.
Now he's in the Rumble.
Yeah, Jericho used every single line that he's ever made in the last 15 years of career in lightning form, and yay. I will say the whole countdown thing was cool.
That was cool.
But then it all fell apart.
Yeah, I think Jericho's kind of at the point where he's overdone the return thing, and he's desperately in need of reinventing himself if he wants to do more stuff in the WWE, because like, if you're going to return this often, you got to switch it up. And we know he's fully capable of doing it.
Yeah. It's like Jericho's back, cool. But it's pretty much what we're used to when we see Jericho come back. Jericho did not send this question, by the way. That is simply just me bringing it up at the end of the show. But for those that did send a question, we always want to thank you. Remember, if you do want to send them, Twitter, ByteThatCast with the hashtag AskBT, or email ByteThatCast@gmail.com.
Or comment on this YouTube video.
Yeah, if you comment on YouTube, like, we see it and we respond. And Keith will send you faces because he loves you. And for everything else, there is the man in the hood, and that is not Arrow. That is Ryan McNulty.
Man, you should have went with Boy in the Hood. But
damn. Can I say damn?
I don't know. All bets are off now, Maggle.
Damn. I said it with an N. Is it better now?
Sure. Let's close this train wreck.
That is an amazing story, Juan, but it's time to close out the podcast. So we want to thank everyone for watching a spectacular, sexy episode of the Byte That Podcast, the first of 2016.
Our best show so far.
How does it feel? Yep. Tell me how it feels, guys.
The best of this year.
Feels Goodman. It feels very Goodman.
Thank you. All right, sweet. So, some stuff to get through. Hey, we got a YouTube channel. We talk about it all the time. Seriously, go to it if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button. It's that red button. That's you know you want to touch it. Just hit it. Just I almost dropped an F-bomb. Just hit it, man. All right? If I'm that passionate about it, that means you should go check it out. We got that Crush Hour video coming up this Thursday. You can watch me sing Tyler Breeze's theme in the most cringe video in North America. And we also had an SRT recently where we talk about blood and wrestling. And we're going to have a tons more content coming down the pipeline, so check that out. And as Juan mentioned, social media, Twitter @ByteThatCast. You can go to our Facebook page /ByteThatCast. We're on Instagram as Byte That Wrestling, Amino as Byte That. For everything else, you can go to ByteThat.com. So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.